Rosenthal. He's a golfer from Minnesota.
Let's go,
He's in grad school right now, and quote unquote, one of the staff said Max is the kind of guy he would want his son to hang out with. Seeing Max's life change for Christ has been one of the highlights of his time here on staff. So give it up for Max, guys.
Thanks to whoever staff member said that. Yeah, so I'm Max, 5th year on the golf team. Been pretty involved with AIA, so a lot of you probably seen me talk up here before. You're probably like, come on man, just graduate already, get out of here. I've shared my story before, but I was asked to share it again, so I'll do that. And then just as a 5th year, kind of drop some wisdom on you guys, or just encouragement to the young people in the room. So yeah, I'm from Minnesota, Eden Prairie, Minnesota. It's a great city, you guys should all go. Growing up in Eden Prairie, pretty much everyone of my friends, majority of the people I'm associated with claim to be Christian. It's kind of just what everyone expects. It's kind of almost like you're a better person for being Christian, so everyone just kind of wants to say that they are. It's like, oh, that guy's a good dude, or like, he's a good Christian. It's kind of just like interchangeable. So I kind of just had this like skewed view of what it means to be a Christian. It just meant to be like a good moral person. And then another thing about Minnesota is that there's a lot of lakes. And so it's really popular for kids to go on these church camps in the summer. It's just like a fun week with friends on the lake, stay at a cabin, flirt with girls, play sports, just a bunch of fun. Some of my favorite highlights as a kid. And so my first encounter with the Lord was in 5th grade at a church camp. That's when I'd say I really had this just like feeling in my heart that I felt his presence, felt that he was real, or like that I even just desired him, that I thought about him. I could get into a lot of details, but long story short, from 5th grade until sophomore year of college, I didn't really get what it meant to be a Christian. So from that time, I can't really claim that I was a Christian. It's just something that like I said I was, but I didn't really live it out. And so I want to read a verse that I think kind of correlates to my story well. It's Romans 1:21, and it says, "For although they knew God, they neither glorified him as God, nor gave thanks to him, but their thinking became futile, and their foolish hearts were darkened." And the next 3 verses, God says, like, he gave them over to their sinful desires. And then it says, "They exchanged the truth about God for a lie, and worshipped and served created things rather than the Creator, who is forever praised. Amen." And so this relates to my story a lot, I think. Back to verse 21, it says, "For although they knew God, they neither glorified him as God, nor gave thanks to him, but their thinking became futile and their foolish hearts were darkened." So from 5th grade on, when I claimed to be a Christian, I never really gave true thanks to God. It's not like he was in the back of my mind all the time, like thanking him for every second of the day, every breath I have. Because really, it's all from him, and that's a gift, and we should be thanking him for all that stuff. But I really didn't, and I didn't glorify him, and so his word says he gives those people into their sinful desires. And so I'd say sophomore year, I kind of hit this bump in the road with just kind of my soul. I'm at Ohio State. I've got a girlfriend, a lot of great friends, doing well in school. I'm really living out my dream, something that I want from a kid is to play D1 sport, and I'm at Ohio State, which is the freaking best university ever, and really living out my dream, playing college golf, playing decently well at the time, and I just felt kind of empty in my heart. It just kind of made me think for a sec, like, man, is golf like really all life has to offer? Is seeking friendships and being popular, marrying like the cutest girl ever, or making a lot of money, is all that stuff, like, is it worth it? Is this what my life, like, am I going to be fulfilled in pursuing those things? They're all great things, but for some reason, like, the closer I got to all of them, they just kind of plateaued in my heart in terms of like getting me excited, making me feel fulfilled. And then at the same time, I had some friends in my life that really just opened my eyes. Some friends that I grew up with that started to change because they started to pursue their faith. They became Christians, and all of a sudden they started talking about Jesus all the time. They started hanging out with different people. They really like enjoyed church. They'd start inviting me. They'd hang out with new people and just like all types of people, and just like showed this different spirit about them that was like excited about God, excited about life. They just wanted to like love people and they were so happy and filled. And that really opened me up because sophomore year, I didn't feel that way, and I could see their lifestyle was different, and I kind of wanted it. And so I started praying all the time sophomore year, like, God, just give me what they have. Like, I want to be a Christian leader like that. Like, they just seem happy, and it's something I want. And I didn't really understand what that meant, but I kept praying it and seeking it out. And I'd say end of sophomore year, I got exposed through Athletes in Action to a Bible study on apologetics, which means defense of the faith. And there's this book called The Reason for God by Timothy Keller. Pounds, you know what I'm talking about? Pounds loves TK. Timothy Keller. So this book is amazing. It lays out all these just facts about God and why it's rational to believe that he exists, that Jesus Christ was a human. He lived here 2,000 years ago, and that's a fact. And for some reason, I kind of always just ignored that. It was almost like he was a mystical creature my whole life that people talked about in the past time, and like, I don't know, I just didn't know anything about it. And for me to sit back and think like, holy cow, he actually existed. And when he died, he rose from the grave 3 days later, and everything he claimed to be was true. And this book lays out a ton of evidence to back that up and to back up the Bible. And that just hit me. There was this quote from C.S. Lewis that I read on Twitter, I think earlier sophomore year, that was kind of in the back of my mind for a while, and said, Christianity, if false, is of no importance. If true, of infinite importance. The only thing it cannot be is moderately important. And that just made me think. That's one of those sentences where you're like, whoa, that's pretty deep. Christianity, if it's true, that means heaven and hell is true. That means eternity is true. There's a lot at stake there. And it kind of freaked me out, and I started to look into my life, and I'm like, okay, well, I see some people really claiming their faith. They're living differently than I am. Every time I go to church, I hear the altar call, and I'm saying the prayer with them, like, because I don't quite know if I'm saved yet, if I really believe. Like, every single time I go to church, I'd accept Christ into my life again, like 20 times. I've probably done it, 30 times in my life. And it wasn't until, that night of Bible study, my boy Mike sat with me for like 2 hours after and just kind of explained what the Bible says about faith, salvation, the gospel. He really helped me out, which is sweet, which is just, I don't know, I love Athletes in Action so much. It's meant the world to me. It's changed my life, and it's really helped me know God. So yeah, after sophomore year, I read more of that book, The Reason for God, came back my junior year, and just decided to commit to it. I was like, you know what, screw it. Like, my last 2 years of living my own life, pursuing all these things that weren't God, worshiping and serving created things, like that verse says, rather than the Creator. I was so focused on all these things that God created, like golf, school, friends, people, whatever. Those are all great things, but they're not the Creator himself. And so my junior year, I was like, I'm going for it. And I literally went to Bible study Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We went to Matt's house on Friday and would share the gospel for like an hour and then come back and hang out. It was so fun. Go to church on Sunday. My weeks were just filled with spiritual things, with Christian fellowship, and it got me going. I started to learn how good our God is. I feel like just the world in general underestimates how really loving he is and how much he fulfills our soul. We weren't created to live a life apart from him. We were created to live with him, to know him, to have him just fill up our soul, and it just feels right. For living it out the last 3 years, I can promise you it's been the greatest thing in my life. I will never go back, because you just can't when you experience God. I read this verse this morning, Psalm 34. It says, "Oh, taste and see that the Lord is good." And I just love that, because once you taste the Lord, taste a true relationship with him, it's so good, and you just never want to let it go. So it's just, God's really good. He's changed my life. Athletes in Action has been just the greatest avenue for me to learn more about him. As a fifth year, Carl asked me to share, some things I may have regretted or some things I'm really glad I did. And as I look back on my time here, I honestly don't regret a lot. I could say I regret my first 2 years because they weren't with the Lord, but I learned so much. getting to that point where I felt kind of restless in my soul, like all these things we're pursuing were shallow in comparison to the Lord. I'm so glad I got to see that, because it's made me love God and cherish the relationship I have with Him just so much more. And so I really don't regret that lifestyle I was living, because I wasn't a Christian then, and I'm saved now and I'm redeemed, and that's great news. Since then, I'd say the things that I really regret is just like getting so worked up over school and golf, and just like worrying about tests and letting it get on me. Because, gosh, there's been so many times where like I thought I bombed a test, it worked out, or like I was just so stressed out over golf, and I ended up playing terrible, and I felt terrible. I was embarrassed. Whatever. But after a couple of weeks, it's like life goes on. Things are still great. I'm so blessed. I have amazing friends, all this stuff. So it's just so not worth it to waste time just getting frustrated or down on yourself. We are literally at the greatest university ever. We have so many amazing opportunities to become the best version of ourselves. And Athletes in Action is here to love and support you and help you just discover your relationship with the Lord in a true and just open way. And things that I'm glad I did, just to cap it off, is that I'm really glad I got plugged in here. I'm glad I just made that commitment to stop trying to people please and do what everyone else was doing, and just go for what felt right and go for the Lord. It's just meant the world to me. I am just so blessed and thrilled with my decision to do that and the outcome it's led to. So thanks for listening. Thanks for all my teammates being here. Love you, dudes. Go Bucks.